one thing chinogona nemazimbabweans kuti vakaona mumwe munhu achita mari vanoda kutoteerawo dhiri raanenge achiita, anenge ada kumboyazooneka kuti dhiri raari kuita riri kumuitisa mari nderipi, tiitewo. So in a nutshell, ndogona ngoti mazimbabweans are very good at copying and pasting, especially madhiri emari. And one dhiri riri kuitwa copy and paste is InDrive. And the question that I get most of the times about an InDrive is, ndeipi mota iri bhoo kuisa paInDrive, ndeipi mota inodzora ukaisa paInDrive. And the truth is, haisi mota yese inodzora ukaisa paInDrive. PaInDrive panoda wisdom yekuti uzive kuti unoisa mota ipi kuti uite mari. I am jdmzim and thank you so much for tuning in to zimcars. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel so that I keep on getting more and of course more of the good stuff. Chinge iri first time yako kusvika panapa usakangana kusiya wa like, kushare nekusubscribe nekuti panapa tinoita zvemota. We are your car buying experts panapa. Tinochikupai expert advice, tichikupai ma tips and tricks of the trade kuti unoita sei kuti usavharwe. And so if you know what's good for you, just subscribe or join your notification bell so that pese patino upload a video you will be the first one to be notified. And today I'm giving you 10 cars that are good for InDrive. 10 mota idzi ndo ndakupai cheat code yekuti kana tsvaga mota dzaInDrive you look along these cars. Car number 1 is the Toyota Aqua, or the Toyota Chivayo as some are now calling it. it's Aqua is a good car, especially in terms of reliability and fuel efficiency. And when you are buying a car for InDrive, you need to consider fuel efficiency because it really directly affected nekuti mota yako iri kudya fuel yakawanda sei. Because kana mota yako idya fuel yakawanda, it means that you are going to make less money because most of the money that you make is going to end up wakuishandisa kuti one kuchitenga fuel so that urambe uri paroad. So you need to be wise in terms of fuel efficiency. And Toyota Aqua is one of the best cars when it comes to fuel efficiency. But you know, no car comes without its disadvantages. The disadvantage of a Toyota Aqua is that it's a hybrid, and hybrid technology is still relatively new in Zimbabwe. It's not new in the world, but it's relatively new in the Zimbabwean market. And you know, things that are new in a market are bound, you know, to give you some troubles. And you know, chinja is the replacement hybrid battery kana chinge rafa is quite costly, so you need to consider those things before watenga Aqua yacho. But at the end of the day, if you buy Aqua in good condition, you will not have to worry about replacing the battery because so major advantage here Aqua is it is fuel efficient, about 30 kilometers per liter. But the disadvantage now is because of the hybrid technology. Most mechanics are hybrid technology, so it might be costly to repair anything to do with that hybrid system. And then number 2 is the Honda Fit Hybrid or GE6. You know, both of these Honda Fits, they are fuel efficient. They are they are efficient generally, even in terms of kufa kwadzo adzizoyanyo kufa zvekudaro. So buying a Honda Fit, whether it's a hybrid or it's a GE6, it is a good car kuisa paInDrive. Why? It is extremely reliable, it is zippy, it is also common on Zim roads. So if a car is common on Zim roads, it means kuti mota yoyo kuna na makanika anogona kuigadzira vakawanda. So if you buy a Honda Fit, you know kuti you won't have any problems with your mechanics, especially if you get a good mechanic, because these cars have been in circulation for the longest time, and we know kuti vakawanda vacho and makanika, they now know their way around these Honda Fits. And then now the only downside the Honda Fit is it uses a dual clutch gearbox, which better my issues, which will give you some troubles on some models, because the dual clutch gearbox, it's quite let's say, because in a more mechanisms actually slightly more complicated than my single clutch gearbox. So you need to consider that kutika gearbox kacho kanogona kuzokuti netsei. But generally a Honda Fit is a really reliable car and a good car for InDrive. And then moving on to car number 3. Car number 3, we have the Toyota Vitz. You know, the Toyota Vitz, I really didn't know much about Toyota Vitz until a few months ago when I decided to say no, Vitz in I only knew what's on the surface. But then I got a chance to get a Toyota Vitz and move around with it, and get to experience a few repairs and just understand how the car works. And what I want to tell you is it is a very simple and easy to maintain car, and the parts are available everywhere. My parts at Toyota Vitz are netekuwana, and the mechanism is just as simple as possible. Vaitanga vari kugadzirira beginner mechanics pavaigadzira Vitz, because it is a very, very simple car, and with simple cars you won't have much problems, because painofa pacho it's simple. If it's simple, it means it's cheaper to maintain. And one downside for this car in terms of InDrive is it's a very compact and very small car, so it will be quite a quite uncomfortable ride for tow clients and also tow drivers. You won't really feel like the space that you feel, for example, can Aqua or in a Honda Fit, because Honda Fit has more space than this small Toyota Vitz. But generally for InDrive, because tichitasa kuti vanhu vakareba vacho vakavashoma pane vasina kunyanyoreba, so you won't have problems kakawanda kacho. You have problems once in a while, especially if you don't have a tow driver, and you also you just wrap your hair, you just find ways around it. Why? Because after all, it's business, and most of these InDrive rides are not so long. You just have to make do with what's there. And then moving on number 4, we have the Nissan Note. This is a new car, relatively new in the market, and it is a car that is growing in popularity. I have friends that have Nissan Notes, and they love the car, they enjoy the car. Even when I get to drive it and I get to ride in a Nissan Note, I always realize that it is a good drive. It is simple. It's a simple car after all. It's a Japanese car. Obviously, it's bound to be simple. And the major advantages of getting a Nissan Note for as an InDrive car is, number 1, it is spacious, it is a smooth ride and decent fuel economy. It still maintains on the fuel economy but giving you a smooth ride, and also it is spacious. Tachitara now have Vitz yekuti space is shoma, but in this Nissan Note space yakati one day. And the only the only downside of the Nissan Note is it uses a CVT gearbox, which is sensitive to abuse. So you need to have a driver that drives very well, that does not abuse the car. Panda driver anoziva kuti no motor yandu driver. This is not a sports car, it is a car, a daily driver and fuel efficient car. So I don't need to really strain the car that much. So kwa driver wakanoziva, and if you also understand the car very well, kuti this CVT transmission gearbox, in fact this CVT gearbox to be handled with care, because it is an extremely sensitive gearbox. But generally it is an efficient car, especially considering kuti unongochitoziva no CVT inotinetsei. So you will definitely have to be a person who understands and keep it in consideration whenever you are driving. And also moving on to car number 5, we have the Mazda Demio. The pro tip, the pros of this Mazda Demio, it has solid fuel efficiency and it has a stylish interior. When you're doing this, InDrive, customer-based services, you need to make sure that the customer enjoys the service that you're offering them. So customer kapina motor, besides the motor yakachena, motor yacho ngainake omkati. And when we're talking about this Mazda Demio, it gives you a slightly better interior than dzimwe motor dzatanchitaura panapa. And the only downside of this Mazda Demio is the suspension and body parts are a bit pricey. You don't really want a car that has pricey stuff, but when it comes to this Mazda Demio, it is nice, it is good, but as compared to its other counterparts in this category, kuti ai iri kuti dhurei tumapatsi, tunoti dhurei, haazodhure zvekuti atengeke, no, anoti dhurei kupfuura macounterparts ana Honda Fit, watachitaura na Toyota Vitz, ana Nissan Note. So maplatsi acho anenge achiti dhurei. So you need to consider that kuti you want a nice car, you want a Mazda Demio, you want a car in a better interior, but you suffer pakuti mapatsi acho anoti dhurei bijana. Then moving on, we have the Toyota Passo. The Toyota Passo, is one of the most reliable Toyota cars. It's a 3-cylinder after all. So you in terms of fuel efficiency, it is extremely fuel efficient, and it is reliable as well. It's a Toyota. Toyotas haangofe. And then going on to the disadvantages of the Toyota Passo, Toyota Passo, because it's a small engine, it's a 3-cylinder, it's not great for long distance trips. Why? Because it's a small engine. Highway, highway driving is different from city driving, so you need more power, you need more response, and when you press on it too much, you start to abuse the engine, you start to require more power than it is generally supposed to give you. Then it won't last longer if you are doing my long distance drives, because there's more engine after all. So you need to consider that if you are to do my long distance trips, the Toyota Passo will not be for you. But if it's city driving, then go ahead and get yourself a Toyota Passo for your business. And then moving on, we have the Toyota Corolla. The Toyota Corolla is a really reliable and long lasting car when it comes to motor. The efficient cars that come from Toyota, it's a long lasting car. You see my Corolla to my ex-saloon, those cars are still moving nicely. Some of them still have solid engines, some of them still have solid transmissions, they're still really good. So Toyota Corolla can take a good beating and keep on delivering the best performance possible. But apana motor is not disadvantage. The disadvantage is the older models. When it comes to InDrive, they can feel dated. Because the newer cars, ana Honda Fit, ana Demio, ana Vitz, will probably get more rides than a Toyota Corolla, because it's an outdated car, unless if you're getting a new one. But if you're getting a newer one, it becomes expensive and not really ideal for the InDrive business. So you need to also consider that. And then moving on to number 8, we have the Honda Grace Hybrid. This one is still relatively new in the Zimbabwean market, but after all, it's a Honda, and my Honda, the systems are almost the same, so Kutana Makanika would not really be confused on what's going on per Honda Grace Hybrid. And it is a luxury feel. These are now the advantages. It feels more luxurious than most of the cars in this category, and it has great fuel economy. It's a newer model. Honda Grace Hybrid, they are newer models, more recent imports. And if you have a Honda Grace, you have interior, it is way better than most other cars in the category. So generally you are bound to have to give your customers a better user experience than Zimwe Motor. So you need to just consider that. But the downside is the downside of the Honda Fit the Honda Grace Hybrid is that it's a hybrid. So the hybrid system is still relatively new, and it's also a mechanical store, and also the parts are still quite expensive. So you need to also consider that if you're getting a Honda Grace Hybrid. And then moving on, Toyota Probox, because it's a Toyota and it's a utility vehicle. Kuti Probox yakasimba. You see zvainenge ichitwa nevakomana mumastreets, kuti Probox yakasimba. But the advantages here Probox is it is durable and carries more clients and luggage. So if you have clients and any luggage, the Probox will be quite better than most of the other cars. Why? Because it carries more luggage and it also carries more passengers. It is a longer wheelbase, so it is bound to have more space inside. And then the the downside now is it looks so basic. So level good, most of these InDrive clients would not like a Probox. Why? Because when you're doing private hire, you need a car that looks good, because the person who does private hire most of the times are people that do not want to put up nema kombi. Why? Because they want to arrive in a way that is different from anenga kombi. So Probox does not really save on the looks, and also it is not really the most comfortable car that you can offer when it comes to InDrive. So you need to consider those things if you're getting a Probox. And then last but not least, we have I think that for the cars, I think we're done. I'll just give you a bonus pro tip. Whenever you're buying a car for InDrive, make sure that you're buying a car that is well around the 100,000 kilometers mark and below. Why? Because it's a car that is going to be moving a lot, so the mileage will move faster. So you need to make sure that you get a good car that is in good condition, but also considering that you need a lower mileage car so that it lasts longer on the road, because motor decisions is going to last around depending on say most cars will last around 250,000 to 300,000 kilometers in terms of mileage. So you need to also consider that you need to to get a car that will last you longer in the business. So you need to make sure that you prioritize lower mileage cars, and also prioritize cars that are generally in the best possible condition, be it exterior and interior, because this is a private hire business, and the clients of that business need you to have cars that are presentable and well maintained. So make sure that you consider all those things, and also consider the cars that I have recommended for you. Until we meet again, always remember that a prayer day keeps the devil away. Don't forget to pray.